Guys, finally found a place where we can go live together. Hey, Sarah, we've been struggling across Instagram, tried Facebook, didn't work, but we finally managed to get ourselves a place to be able to talk about Sarah and her amazing book that I have just finished. And before I go any further, well done on rating such an amazing book. I have absolutely loved it.
That's fantastic. That's so good to hear. I had a suspicion you would, because I've seen quite a lot of your Instagram posts and I felt like there was kind of a connection. I thought he's going to enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's been, for those of you that are just tuning in, survival skills for freelancers. There's the camera. We were just talking about the mirror image on this app. There we go. Look at that. It's like a mirror image of that. Survivor skills for freelancers, in my opinion, is a wonderful book for two reasons. One, it highlights exactly what people think about freelancing and going out on your own, and all of the myths and worries and troubles and basically things that you don't know about until you actually do it. It highlights them all and just totally debunks them all, which I think is amazing. And the second thing is it's really, really, really well written. It's one of those books that felt more like a story to me than it did about necessarily being a sort of a help book or a guidance book. And so, which is nice, because storybooks are, keep people interested. They keep people, page flicking, as they say. So yeah, it took me a couple of days to read it, which is unlike me. I usually take about 3 weeks to read a book. So
yeah,
it was really,
people are like, I powered through it in 2 sittings, and yeah.
Absolutely. So first of all, let me just ask you, what spurred you on to write the book in the first place?
So I got to the start of last year, 2020, and it was before COVID even happened. And I just thought, we need to start getting real about the challenges of self-employment, because it's all this stuff that nobody talks about. And everybody's like, oh, hey, oh, you're so lucky. You've got the freedom and the flexibility and you're your own boss and all these positives that we associate with self-employment. But actually, people don't generally talk about, oh my God, the isolation, the imposter syndrome, procrastination, lack of focus, lack of motivation, knowing what to charge, all these sort of basic things, which I think everybody struggles with from time to time. Yeah. So I am naturally quite heart on my sleeve, real tell it like it is type person, sometimes a little too much. And I just thought, I'm just gonna share my 20+ years of experience in a way that helps people kind of accelerate their own success, so to become successful a lot quicker and with a lot fewer mistakes. So that was,
I absolutely love it. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think that I've been freelance for 11, 12 years now, and it's something that you kind of just do, right? You kind of just get on with it. There's no rule book. There's no kind of this is the right way or the wrong way. There's no one to tell you what to do. And so that's why I found it quite fascinating that you'd written a book about essentially a playbook for how to do it if you do want to give it a go. And what I really like about what you've written is specifically how you've highlighted the things that people are thinking, right? Which is the myths, right? The myths around kind of like, oh, will I be able to make money? And oh, should I charge this or should I charge that? Or oh, should I have colleagues and all this sort of stuff? Like one of my favorite ones was, I've dogged, as you can see, I've dogged lots of the pages here.
I like that.
And reference. So I've dogged. What I normally do with the book is I will go through it, dog loads of pages, and then I'll go back and write my own notes on it, so that if I ever needed to kind of refer back to it, I've just got dedicated notes for that specific book. So I'll be doing that with yours very shortly. But one of the ones that stood out for me, first of all, was the secrets to working from home. And this has been really powerful because everybody's working from home more or less these days, and it's become much more of a movement. And the fact that you wrote down a couple of things, sort of like introducing routine and keep moving and claiming your space and all that sort of stuff. Just quickly dive into that for me and tell me, what is it what's so good about working from home, and then what are the biggest challenges about working from home?
Okay, in that order. So what's so good about working from home is that when you know how to do this stuff and you know how to set the boundaries, you can make all your own decisions. You can work at the time of day that you're at your most productive. You can design your day or your week around when you have to do the school run, or when you have to walk the dog, or when you want to get out on your bike, or in my case, go for a swim. So it's having that kind of the ability to design everything, make all the decisions yourself is great. And that's part of the reason why we're drawn to self-employment in the first place. But on the flip side, most people don't actually realize that they can say no to the wrong work, that they can make their own decisions, and that they can say to their clients, do you know what? Look, these are my office hours. It's not 9 to 5, but actually your clients don't care what hours you're working as long as you're getting the work done and you're getting it done to a high quality standard within budget and on time. So they don't care if you're working 9 to 5 or like 4 till 2 a.m. They really don't care. So it's about making your own decisions and sticking to those boundaries that you've created for yourself. And then you will actually enjoy it more. So, I mean, you know, being able to kind of have little breaks during your day where you actually go and load the dishwasher, go and stick on a wash, go and fold the washing, whatever, that gets you up and away from your desk. It keeps you active, it keeps you moving. It gives you that very brief change of scene that kind of reactivates your brain and gives you a fresh perspective. And it means that you don't finish work to find like a pile of chores sitting waiting for you at the end of the day. So there's loads of positives. It's just we don't always recognize that we are the boss. We can tell our clients, these are my terms, this is how I work, this is when you can get hold of me. Yeah, of course you can WhatsApp me at 10 o'clock at night if you like, but I'm not going to reply until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning because that's when I start work or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that another one that I picked up on from your book was kind of having that routine. And I think a lot of people have struggled with the fact that they're now waking up in the same place that they work, right? And normally there's something to do with, you know, the cognitive process in which when we used to leave the house with our coffee at 10 to 8 in the morning, and we get on a train and listen to a podcast, read a book, get into work, we're in that mode, right? We're in that work mode. Yeah. And whether you work for yourself or not, right, you went through some sort of similar kind of process. And then at the end of the day, same process kind of get you into like coming home mode. Yeah. But nowadays, people are now in this position where they literally walk next door or even don't even leave the same room, right, to do this same work. So what are the sort of things people can do to really break up those two sort of home and work life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's really important. It's like having that status shift, isn't it? It's like I've woken up, I've been lying in bed for 8 hours, whatever. You sit on the sofa with your breakfast to watch, you know, the news or whatever. And then suddenly you're kind of into work. So what actually creates that space, I guess, between when you are effectively still within the same four walls? So I think it's a really good idea to have some sort of routine, which is something that you associate with the start of the working day. For me, every single day since I was about 17, I put on a full face of makeup, like whether I'm leaving the house or not. So for me, I'll get my headphones, I'll stick my headphones in and listen to a podcast in the morning. And I listen to a podcast or an audio book. I'm listening to Daniel Priestley's Key Person of Influence at the moment. So yeah, if I'm listening to a book or a podcast, I'm kind of starting to get into work mode. I'll always make sure that I try to leave the house, and, you know, even if I'm just going for a walk around the block or whatever, that's really important to build into your day, but not necessarily first thing in the morning. So for me, have my breakfast, stick my work listening in, and I'll put my makeup on, and then I'll kind of feel like, okay, so now I'm ready to go from my bedroom all the way across the corridor into my office and actually start work. I think having something to end the day is important as well. And I've talked about this on podcasts before. It's been a weirdly popular suggestion, but at the start of lockdown, I was finding my partner was sort of living with me at the time while we were in lockdown, and we were both finding that we were drinking. Like we'd get to the end of the day, we'd go, oh, let's just crack open a bottle of wine, just have one glass. But we were doing it every day, and we quickly realized this is not a healthy habit to get into. So I said, okay, let's have a different thing to mark the end of the day. So we created a mocktail. So I get out my nicest tumblers, like nice heavy tumblers, put a bit of cordial, a bit of Capella apple juice, and then some Sprite on top with ice and lemon. And I'm like, right, okay, it doesn't matter what you do. I'm not suggesting you all have to kind of adopt the routine of kind of making yourself a mocktail, but whatever it is, have a thing that for you shut the laptop lid down, you walk away from your working space, and then you come into this time where you're kind of like, okay, maybe even change, like, you know, change out of your work clothes or whatever it is. but something that works for you and something that signifies that kind of status break that you don't get from, okay, I'm working in this room, but actually I'm going down to cook dinner now in another room, but same place.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely nailed on the head there. One of the suggestions that a lot of people I've heard of have done that whole thing of just leaving the house, just walk around the block to then come back in the house as if it's like you've done your commute to work, I think is a really, really powerful one. But I like the one at the end of the day. I've not thought much about that because personally, I've had lots of days where I've gone, oh my God, it's 7:30 and I'm still working, especially in the summer, you know, when you don't realize how late it is because it's still light. And yeah, I'm like, oh wow, I need to kind of get off because Love Island starts in half an hour. I need to get off and do less work. But no, you're absolutely right. It's so important. I think especially now that people are starting to realize that working from home has its benefits. But one thing that I felt was really strong throughout your book, which I did want to talk about as well, is the mental health aspect of being a freelancer. Before we talk about it, like I'll share with you a little bit of kind of like my mental health journey with being self-employed. It's been a roller coaster because there are huge highs, but also massive lows. But the difference between the last 8-9 years and the last one has been that the last 8-9 years, I can just go, whatever, I've had a bad week. I'm just going to jump on a flight and go to Spain for the weekend. Or I'm just going to go and have a blowout with my friends, or I'm, you know, whatever. I've got freedom. But the last year, I haven't had that freedom. And what's been really painful is sort of having those bad days, because they always come, and not having an outlet to be able to just sort of get yourself over them. And so, you know, and mental health has been a big thing that I've done some charity work for. I recently ran 100 kilometers in a day to raise money for mental health, which was a big,
wow.
a big day. But like, you know, things like that I've tried to do kind of my bit to help. But what is the single biggest, I suppose, concern that you have for the freelance community sort of as a result of this pandemic?
I think it's the same as it's always been, actually. I think it's to do with the isolation and just that feeling that not only can we not physically get out and be in a room with other freelancers or other business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them. And I think not having that leaves us feeling that actually I'm the only person facing these challenges. And that's a different sort of isolation. So there's, on the one hand, we're social creatures. We need to be around people. We need, in my case, hugs. I'm like a big kind of hugger. And actually, I would go to networking and I'd end up kind of hugging everybody there. And not being able to do that is one thing. But yes, we've got Zoom. We can kind of unite through the screen. But I do feel that in a lot of cases, we don't talk about these challenges. And actually, the main thing that is so important is to recognize that at the start of 2020 there were 2 million freelancers in the UK. Wow. So whatever you feel, I mean, there's a reason why this is chapter 1 in the book. Going solo doesn't mean going it alone, and it's such an important thing to recognize. So if you can spend time finding and identifying your community and kind of leaning into that and going, do you know what, I have a rough day, because all that does is that it actually helps to normalize the fact that everybody has these bad days. I think, I mean, obviously, as you say, the book throughout, it's got this mental health thread. And I'm actually training to be a mental health first aider in September. So that's really important for me, because I wanted to do what I can to sort of support the community, and I've kind of always done that, and that's because I've struggled with my own mental health throughout my life. And I really wanted to acknowledge the fact that we're all individuals, we're all humans, we're all trying to run a business, but ultimately we're all people with worries and concerns and wobbles and fears and doubts, and all the things that challenge us are all perfectly normal. And it's great that a lot of corporates, big businesses, organizations are training up mental health first aiders, or they have a designated employee assistance person or team. You can go to them when you're struggling with your mental health. You can have this objective, removed third-party person that you can talk to about these challenges. But as freelancers, we don't have that luxury. So I wanted to build that throughout the book to really make people realize that actually, without taking care of your mental health and well-being, you don't have a business. You can't possibly serve your family and friends, let alone your clients, if you're not taking care of what's in here and what's in here. Absolutely. So for me, that's really, it actually gives me goosebumps just thinking about how important it is, because it's everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always remembered a saying that my mum told me when I was young, which is a problem shared is a problem halved. And it's it makes so much more sense to me now I'm older, because I used to just be like, oh, I don't want to talk about my problems and talk about my feelings. But actually, the more you talk about them, the more you realize, A, there's people out there experiencing the same thing as you. And B, there is always a solution to the problem. You know, I work as a life coach. And so a lot of the time, perspective is huge in my industry. It's helping people understand that actually what's going on for them is not as big as they make it out to be. It can be totally, fixed and sorted out. It just needs talking about and getting it out on paper and just discussing it. And I think one of the things that I really liked about your book was that there are lots of opportunities for you to be able to, or lots of people and also lots of communities for you to be able to reach out to say, hey, look, I'm not looking to build a client base. I'm not looking to, poach you as a potential, colleague or whatever. I just want a friend to talk to. I just want someone else who's in the same boat as me, going in a similar direction. And maybe there's an opportunity for us to collaborate or skill share or help each other. Or, there were so many things in your book that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go check out that website, or I'm gonna go and see what that group's all about, because I didn't know about them. And I've been in this space for 11, 12 years. So, really, it really helped me kind of it basically cemented to me that actually all the things that go through my head on a day-to-day basis are what everyone else is thinking, which is really sort of reassuring. But also it was a nice way to sort of go, okay, if I do want to reach out to someone, if I do want to find someone else in the same boat as me, there are people out there, and I just have to have the initiative to go out and say hello.
Yeah, I talk a lot about the concept of over competition, and actually I just think that's one of the most important things when you're freelance, because traditionally we might have shied away from those people who do the same job as us. So in my case, I might go to a networking event and find someone says, oh, there's another copywriter over there in the corner, and I'd be like, oh, I'd talk to them because they might steal my clients or poach my ideas or whatever. Whereas actually that is coming from a place of fear. And that's not a nice place to be for anybody, for the person on the receiving end or for you. So if instead you recognize that actually the people who do the same job as you are the most aligned in terms of they go through the same challenges with their clients, they don't know what to charge the same way as you don't, you get a new project in, it's too big for you to take on, but you can collaborate with people when you know what their individual skills and strengths are. You can share work, you can give away work that is not the right fit for your business, which enables you to walk away from that situation where you get an inquiry and you're like, I don't have the capacity at the moment to take this project on, or it just is not going to help progress my business to where I want it to go. So it's okay. In fact, it's encouraged to say no to the wrong work. And the best way to walk away from that situation with your head held high is to do it by going, this work isn't quite the right fit for me right now. However, I can recommend a trusted colleague who may be in a better position to help you. Would you like me to make an introduction? And that just that's solving the client's problem, and they'll be delighted. And plus you're giving work to another freelancer. So it's all really good stuff.
Absolutely. I think that there's a big misconception around helping others in your space. And I love what you said around how I used to be that person who there's another copywriter there, and then I would get fear and I'd be like, oh no, I'm not gonna talk to them. Actually, you can probably learn more from them, and they can probably learn just as much from you if you just overcame that and went and spoke to them. I've recently pivoted my business ever so slightly, and I have found a bunch of people online that I've connected with who initially I thought, oh, they're my competition. I must sort of stay clear of them and kind of watch them from afar and do some ninja whatever tricks in the background to make sure that I'm doing the same as them. The moment I reached out to them, or the moment they reached out to me, and we started a connection, like things just started to happen. And it was because we were able to share networks. And one thing that I love about being a freelancer, and I think this is going to sound sort of resonate with anyone that's watching this, is that your uniqueness is your competitive advantage.
Done.
And so if you are doing the same thing as everybody else, that's fine, right? That's a skill set, right? But there is a talent that you have that no one else has that makes you the person that does that job better and in the right way for the right clients. And I think that that's a big thing that it's taken me a long time to figure that out. My background's in the modeling industry, so I've always been like, you know, I don't look good enough for a job and that's just the end of it. But actually, it's not about the way I look. It's my personality. It's what I bring to the table. It's how I connect with others and how I can make other people feel on a shoot to make it all come alive. And that's what people hire me for. There's 20 other guys that I go to castings with sometimes that look exactly the same as me. But why do I get the job? It's because I'm this kind of guy, right? And that's what they're looking for. And so the same with any industry. Like if you're somebody who is starting out in whatever industry, find people who do the same as you, because you'll start to realize that actually your personality has something that maybe theirs doesn't, or, you know, there's something that you didn't know about yourself that actually sells you more than your services in the first place, which I think is just a gold mine of insight that you can learn.
So much gold in what you just said, and I couldn't agree more. And I think first of all, it's worth saying that your clients won't work with you precisely because you're the best at what you do. They work with you because they like you. You know, you make work fun. They enjoy interacting with you. They get something really positive and supportive out of the service that you provide. So it doesn't always have to be about studying harder and learning from you know, kind of increasing your skill set, because it's less about that and more about who you are, as you say. And I also think that makes me want to mention about authenticity and why it's so important to, I think, embrace your quirks. I'm quite quirky. I have quite a lot of sort of neurodiversity sort of things going on, and I actually masked that for the best part of 15 years, maybe even more, and kept feeling like I have to be this sort of person to be a business owner. And I was always trying to be more professional, and it just didn't feel like I was being myself. And it's exhausting, particularly if you have the mental health challenges, which really everybody has to a certain degree, through the overwhelm of running your own business and feeling like you have to do everything for yourself, and etc., etc. So if you can just embrace who you are, it's a game changer. It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
Because people will be drawn to the things that make you different.
Yeah,
it helps you stand out.
There's also the article that comes to mind, if you may have read it, is Kevin Kelly's 1,000 Fans. Have you read that article?
Ooh,
I will send it to you. It's a really good article. Basically, Kevin Kelly is the editor-in-chief of Wired magazine, and he wrote this article back in 2012, which was basically about how you don't need 1 million followers to make $1 million, right, or £1 million. You just need 1,000 super fans. Now, these super fans are people that will buy everything you sell, tell everyone they know about you, and share everything you post, right? And the way you build that 1,000 fans is with just one at a time, right? Now, there are hundreds of people online who are trying to sell quick get-rich schemes that are like, become a 7-figure this in 7 minutes and one-click wonder buttons and all this sort of stuff. And I love them for it, because it just shows that you can literally create anything out of nothing, right? But when it comes down to it, there's no sale that's made out of a conversation ever, right? Ever in life. You know, you cannot make a sale unless you've had a conversation with someone and found out exactly what they need. And whether that's on a mass scale or on a one-on-one scale, you need to be able to understand who you're talking to. And so this article, I read it a couple of years ago, and it really changed my whole perception on how to build a business properly and that sustains. Because if you think about it, if you have even 100 people that love you for what you do, those 100 people essentially are doing your marketing for you. They're the ones going out and saying, hey, Sarah's amazing. I did a piece of work with her. And if that's 100 people speaking to even just one person, suddenly you've doubled the potential reach of your business. And if they then do the same, and it's a multiplier effect, it's the compound interest essentially of people.
Effect. I love the power of the ripple effect. It's fantastic. Incidentally, if you like that article, if you haven't already read This Is Marketing by Seth Godin, read it. It was before I started on Daniel Priestley, I was listening to that on Audible, and that's exactly what he talks about.
Yeah.
The 1,000 fans, exactly that. So yeah, it's a really simple idea, but it's super powerful when you start to think of it that way. Because I always say, when you are, I think this is going off at a slight tangent, but I always think that we're so good now with our marketing, identifying our customer avatars, aren't we? Our customer profile, our dream client, whatever you want to call them. And what that can sometimes mean is that if you're in a room with 100 people, it's very easy to kind of scan that room and go, yeah, I can't see my dream client here. So you disengage from that situation, and you're missing so many opportunities, because the person you're talking to, you don't know who they're married to, or who they go to the gym with, who they go to the pub with, who they're related to, and how you could potentially help that person. So I think it's really important to, it's the Maya Angelou quote, which I absolutely love. People forget what you did. People forget what you said, but people never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. Just a little kindness actually really does go a long way in terms of making you memorable.
Yeah.
As long as it's genuine, you know, don't be disingenuous about it. But if you show a genuine interest in that person's business or that person's life, and you remember a little detail, it's super powerful.
Absolutely. I think I love the fact that, again, it just comes back to emotion, right? There are two buyers in this world. There are logical buyers and emotional buyers, right? Mm-hmm. Logical buyers are the A personalities of this world that need to know the facts and the figures and the numbers and the stats and all the rest of it. But ultimately, they're not going to know what those are until you get them emotionally, right? Until you know exactly what their pain is and exactly what they want to gain out of it, and exactly how your business or your model or your methods help them join those two things together. And, you know, as you said, when it comes down to it, if you help someone with, even if it's just a small thing, even if it's not paid, like you just gave someone a recommendation to a book or to a website or to even a human, right? And you say, hey, you know, just, that's fine, I'll connect you, no problem at all. They'll remember that for longer. And then when your services pop into their mind, when someone says, oh, do you know anyone that does any copywriting? Or do you know anyone that's a coach? Or do you know anyone that does this or does that? They'll be like, I actually do. Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Are we there?
Oh, I lost you there completely. I don't know what happened. You just disappeared off the screen.
I'm so sorry about that. Oh, we're back now. It's good.
Oh, that's the sound. Come on, what's going on?
Can you hear me now?
Why has the sound disappeared?
Let's have a look.
That doesn't make any sense. What's going on?
Let's have a look.
Jack, should I refresh my screen?
Yes, do that. Try that.
Is it worth me?
Let me just.
I'm backstage. Okay.
Are you back now? Can you hear it?
Can you back now? No. It was working so well.
Oh, this is so frustrating. I can hear you. Let me just let me see if I can get
the volume to max.
My audio is definitely working. Confusing. Okay, let's.
No idea. Any ideas?
No, not at the moment. Hang on. Let me just put you backstage for a second, see if we can figure this out. Okay, we're going to come back in a minute with Sarah. I'm sure she'll be here soon. Thank you so much for everyone that's come and tuned in already. We'll be able to get her back in shortly. Let's see. Let's add her to screen. Here we go.
Yeah,
Sarah, can you hear me now?
What in the heck just happened? No idea.
Don't know. It's the powers of the internet. So clearly, it's Instagram doing its thing all over the place now. They're just screwing up the internet. But yes, one of the last things I wanted to talk to you about, Sarah, was the thing about towards the end actually, which is kind of the reality of what people actually are doing in their sort of their day-to-day as a freelancer. And I wrote this quote down the other day from a podcast, which I've literally got it written here, and it says, "No one has it figured out, right? Prioritize what you want, trust the process, and back yourself," right? I can't remember who said it, but maybe write it down because it was that powerful. Because imposter syndrome is a real thing, regardless of whether you're, the president of the United States of America, or you are just starting out of university. You have imposter syndrome every single time. Now, what tips or what advice would you give to someone who just says, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have the skills yet to do this, and has imposter syndrome creeping in?
Yeah, so I share 6 tips in the book. I'll share like a couple of them now because I don't really probably have time to go into all of them. But I think one of them comes back to that normalizing. So keep talking. I think that's really important. Like you say, everybody gets it. I always say it's from the intern to the CEO. It literally anybody. I've been watching this program called My Unorthodox Life about this woman, Julia Hart, who is the CEO of the world's biggest model agency, and she was saying the exact same thing, and she must be the most successful woman in the world. And yeah, if it's good enough for these kind of high profile people, it's good enough for us. So when you're working in an office, you've got to do a big presentation and you're like, oh no, I'm doing this, I'm really I don't think I can do it, I'm too scared. You would just talk to your friends, your colleagues, whatever, at the coffee point and go, oh my God, I'm bricking it. I've got to do this big presentation for the board. And then they would go, oh God, yeah, I know what you mean. I did do that last month. And this is, don't worry, you've got this, hey, back yourself, because actually that's where it comes from. It's just, we have these wobbles, and we kind of blow them up and go, oh my God, I'm experiencing imposter syndrome. But actually, it's just part of the human condition. So imagine that you were talking to someone, talk to someone on a live, talk to someone on a phone call, and just get that reassurance. When you start having the doubt creep in about, oh, I don't have the skills, I don't have the experience to do this. Well, the only way you get experience is by getting experience. So, have a look at the skills that you've got, that you bring to the table. Have just, take half an hour and kind of sit down and go, okay, well, I am someone who has done this. So in my case, I could go, since publishing my book, I've gone from doing no live events. I'd never done a live event, a podcast, a webinar in my life. And in the past year, I've done 50 plus podcasts, 50 plus live events. And the first time I did it, I was just like, oh, rubbish, really ropey. Don't go back to my original early videos, but actually maybe do, because you can see just how to improve. You have to practice these things. You have to go outside of your comfort zone, because those opportunities are the ones that are going to take your business from where you are now to where you want to be. And Richard Branson said, if someone offers you an amazing opportunity and you don't know how to do it, say yes and then learn how to do it after. And I think that's a really big part of it. That's the spirit to embrace, to kind of go, okay, well, I haven't done this yet, but actually when the anxiety and the nerves and the butterflies kick in, just tell your brain that you're excited to be doing something that's kind of brave and bold and new and confident, and actually you're going to enjoy it more, and you're probably going to do better because you're thinking, oh, I'm actually excited. Yeah. It's just a simple kind of mind trick, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have an expression which is, confidence is not the requirement, it's the result.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more.
And so when people ask me, okay, but it's fine for you, you've been confident for, 12 years in front of a camera and you've done, shoots all around the world and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but it's because I've done it and now I'm confident. It wasn't what I needed in the first place to do it. Confidence comes from, right? The best way I can describe it is, remember when you were at school and you had exams at the end of every year, and if you didn't revise and prepare, then going into that exam hall was absolutely bricking it. You'd be scared. You'd be like, I'm not going to do it. But if you revised and practiced and done a bit of a, maybe a mock exam, going into that example, you felt way more confident. It's exactly the same with anything else you do in life. As long as you prepare and you practice, you will be confident as you need to be walking into that situation. And so, yeah, I think the imposter syndrome is a real thing, and it gets it. But I love the fact that you can just flip it and turn it into an exciting opportunity rather than a crippling event.
And I think also cut yourself some slack, because if you are doing something for the first time, you have to accept that it probably won't be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time you do something new, that is how those little incremental boosts in confidence come. And after a while, you'll step back and go, do you know what? I remember when I was absolutely terrified about going live on Instagram or doing a video, talking directly to the screen, doing, anything that is outside your comfort zone, going up on stage, talking about your business or helping other people by putting yourself out there. And actually, if you focus also, I think, on this is quite specific to kind of live events and this sort of thing, but I think if you focus on the audience and don't think of it as, oh my God, they're going to think I'm showing off because I'm talking on a stage or whatever. Think about how you're helping them. So kind of think about, heard an expression the other day, serve, don't sell. A lot of self-employed people are really uncomfortable with the concept of selling. But if you focus on the value that you're bringing to the table, because this person or this audience, this group of people has this problem, and you solve this problem with your product or service, then you're doing them a favor, a massive favor, by telling them about what you do and how you can help them. So
absolutely. There's a book that I read recently called The GoGivers Sell More by Bob Berg. And yeah, it's exactly what he says in there. It's, it's not about selling, isn't the sort of sleazy car salesman that we all recognize as this person who's like, I want to take your money and I want to take this from you. It's this person that you're giving them the opportunity. Ooh. We've lost Sarah again. Lost you again. That's okay. I don't know what happened there. So yeah, but it's giving someone the opportunity to, to have the services that you offer them to help them in their life. And I think a lot of people forget that. Like, there's a guy I love to read up on, and one of my favorite books actually is a guy called, it's called Prosperous Coach by a guy called Rich Litvin. And he basically talks about how in order to be able to create clients, all you need to do is just have a conversation with them and create a huge insight for them. And whether that's solving a problem or opening their eyes to a new opportunity, but either way, they're going to be then open their eyes to who you are and what you're all about. It's absolutely amazing. And you can definitely sell by serving, for sure.
Yeah. It's just a different way of looking at it, isn't it? I'm a big one for kind of reframing things. I don't always remember to take my own advice, but when I do, I kind of think, oh, okay, well, this stuff's really powerful. It's like I think as self-employed people often have that obligation kind of feeling, like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. Whereas actually, if you change that word should, replace it with get to, and kind of go, oh, I get to do this, I get to do that, how lucky am I? It just instantly kind of makes it feel like more of a privilege and makes you realize just how lucky we all are. Just don't, I think it's chapter 7 in the book that says that expression, if you do a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I think that has got a lot to answer for, because that raises this expectation that actually we're all, as freelancers, entrepreneurs, small business owners, we're all doing the thing that puts fire in our belly, gets us out of bed in the morning, whatever cliche you want to use. But actually that doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days. You have to accept that bad days come with the territory. And yeah, sure, in the book, there are 8 myths that I bust, and there's an awful lot of advice that will prepare you to deal with those bad days and those challenges along the way. But it doesn't make the bad days go away. They just accept them. Go with the process.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. I think that when it comes down to it, there are so many... Oh, sorry, there's a very noisy car going past my window. When it comes down to it, it's all about just making sure you're happy in what you do. I think, as you said, there's a lot of people who have this belief that you need to find your passion and it has to be this thing that you do forever. And it's like, no one finds their passion. By finding your passion, it's kind of paradoxically, if you find your passion, then you kind of, I think anyway, get to a point where you almost are content. And when you're content in life, naturally we want to be better and do more and get better at things. So therefore your passion then changes anyway, because you're like, almost get bored of it. It's almost that kind of classic, no one, unless you are like a Buddhist monk, is happy just sitting doing nothing, right? And I think that there is a big sort of myth around the fact that once you find your purpose, you're just doing that forever. But I think when you find that, you almost get hungry for more. And so you're always learning, always innovating, and always pushing yourself to do more in life. So I think it's, I think it's a powerful thing to just keep striving and keep doing what makes you happy at the end of the day, rather than necessarily trying to find this purpose that you sort of have to find somewhere in deep in the dungeons of, freelance world. But anyway, Sarah, this has been such an amazing,
sorry.
That's all right. I was going to say, this has been such a lovely interview, and I really, really loved your book, honestly. So if anyone's watching this, Survival Skills for Freelancers, where can we find it, Sarah? Where can people go and get this book?
So it's on sale on Amazon, or you can buy direct from me. I will gladly send you a signed copy if you'd like to buy one. I also have a limited number of codes for a free copy of the audiobook if you have Audible, because the audiobook is brand new. The book itself came out a year ago, but if you have an Audible account, you'd like to read the book and listen to the book in exchange for a review on Amazon. The reason being the Kindle and the paperback version are on one review system, and Audible has a completely different review system. So I have like 320 odd reviews on Amazon for the book and the Kindle, but starting from zero with the audiobook. So feel free to connect with me. I'm not particularly active on Facebook. Find me on Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn. Connect with me. If you found me through Jack's Live, then do drop me a note and say that's where you found me, and I'll happily connect. And if anybody wants more information, survivalskillsforfreelancers.com is probably the best place to go, because that's got links to my social media, to my copywriting website, blah, blah, blah.
Perfect. Fantastic. Look, I've loved this, and I will definitely be passing this book on to anyone I know that will really find it valuable, which is lots of people who are in the same space as me. So thank you for writing it. Thank you for giving me your time, and I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad we're connected now, because I now feel like I've got another freelance friend in the industry. So it's super nice.
Yeah, great. Enjoy the thing, and thanks for having me on, Jack. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. See you soon, Sarah. Take care.
Bye-bye.